All of these things I talked about today had to do with men, whether it was leadership, whether it was decline of America, whether it was mental health. And now the next topic, which is my last topic, is going to be talking about Byron Allen and Mickey D's. So just in case you guys have not heard, Byron Allen, which is the media mogul of Allen Media Group, and you've probably all heard of him before, he was able to settle. He just received a 100, or some sources say 100, some say 10 billion. Anyway, $1 billion settlement with McDonald's. So do you understand that? So I've gotten two sources. Some say 10 billion, some say 100. I believe it's 10 billion though. But anyway, he was able to settle with McDonald's. Now, what happened with McDonald's? Because you know about him, he sued Comcast before and other corporations that were using tools of discrimination. So Byron Allen, the founder of Allen Media Group, the parent of Entertainment Studios Network and the Weather Channel, filed a 10 billion federal lawsuit in 2021 against McDonald's, alleging racial discrimination in advertising spend, accusing the company of confining and ad purchases with black-owned media to separate limited African American tier budgets rather than their main ad pool. Okay, so they was discriminating basically. They would alter certain African American businesses and put them in certain tiers and put other race of businesses in other tiers, basically. A related $100 million lawsuit was also filed in the California Superior Court. And on June 13, 2025, just ahead of the schedule of July 15, McDonald's reached a confidential settlement of 10 billion and resolved it at a state level claim. Now, why did I bring that up? Why did I bring up all of these things that I brought up today? Because these things are highlighting what is actually happening in America and what contributes to the decline of America, and why people don't necessarily see this as the place of opportunity like they used to, or the beacon or the light on the hill. They once used to look at us on television, even though some of us know that that was an illusion. But anyway, they once used to look at us on TV and they imagined, like, I can go there, I can be something, I can have something. And they did. Many of them did. Many of them did because they wanted it so bad. But at the same time, there are many today who are turning away. And all of this has to do with, I wouldn't say men alone, but again, majority of men, right? So what's going on with men? What's going on with men in leadership in America? What's going on? I think it's all of the mental and spiritual shaping and brainwashing and ideas of culture, our media, our entertainment, our music, every single thing that is seeped within our consciousness and within our minds that begin to manifest out of our hearts and that people begin to act on. Let me give you an example. There have been some corporations actually sued because they have been so tied to hip hop, and some of those hip hop lyrics and some of those things that came up was not suitable for corporate America. So then they would be sued because of certain things that they would say or certain taglines they would have or certain things, not realizing just how much all of this stuff affect us in America. Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of times we as a nation have to deal with our communication. We need to regulate our communication. I didn't say censor people. I said regulate it. When it's too much darkness being fed out into the world, then it'll start feeding everywhere. It'll go into politics. People want to be on stages twerking when they supposed to be running professional campaigns and getting people to vote through intelligence and getting intelligent leaders to make intelligent decisions. It turns into a twerking party, to a candy yam and greens party when that's not what it's supposed to be. It's catering and pandering to who you think people are when that's not really who they are. That's just a sector of entertainment. It turns into unprofessionalism. Tell me any country across the United States, I'm sorry, across the world, whether it's Africa or China or all these different places, that you're gonna see twerking half butt naked on stages, doing all kind of crazy stuff, and yet they're dealing with professionalism and politics. Do you understand what I mean when I say the world looking on at us, saying, what is going on over there? It's in schools, it's in everywhere where children are supposed to be educated and to show the fineness of their education. Nope, people over here doing the fool. It's in our conversations. It's in our television. You can't even have a good cop show without a cop always having to take someone's life, even if it's in the name of justice. Why you just can't have a show that's so dramatized that a cop don't even have to do that? You don't even see our cops doing that in real life. You know that. How many of y'all, show of hands, have lived in this world and you really seen cops running around killing people in the name of justice or just killing people at random in general? Many of you can't say that. You want to know how I know you can't say that? Because you looking at me through this camera and you still here. Even if you have seen a shooting, you don't see them a lot and you don't see a lot of that. So why do we propagate that in our storytelling? Why do we propagate that in our media? Why do we feed that into the minds of the people and then think that people are supposed to be sane toward cops? Even if there are bad cops, there are some that don't necessarily be trying to do all that dirt. And because this is so fed in the culture, it creates those dynamics. It creates that mental way of thinking. You understand that? So again, some of this junk has just so seeped throughout all our society that it has diminished our spiritual estate, and the world can see it, and people are talking. You guys know that. I would say, leaders, reconsider our communication in this country. Reconsider what's of value and what's not. Reconsider what you will allow to be on our mainstreams and what you will not allow. And take a stance for something. Take a stance for something, guys. Stop weebly wobbling. Stop doing all of this. Take a stance. Do you understand that? So that we can be stronger, be better together. Now, how does the Myron 10 billion lawsuit help other blacks? Because that was one of my questions. I was like, okay, every time he sues these companies, he get a lot of money. And he do. But how is that helping small businesses that go through the same thing he go through, but don't have the money to fight them? And I was asking that question. Is he gonna get them some of that money? Is he gonna help them get a class action suit? Where the money go to? You know, our minds get to thinking, right? So I did a little research. And what I found out is that sometimes when you do something and you're a leader in your profession, it may not seem like it's affecting, but it indirectly affects. And some of the ways that it was able to indirectly affect: pressuring from a position of strength, which you know he has a lot of money and a lot of backing. Allen was able to back his claims with data showing McDonald's spent just 3% of its US budget on black owned media, despite black consumers making up 40% of its customers. Pursuing legal enforcement of diversity commitments, McDonald had pledged in 2021 to grow and to spend with black owned media from 2% to 5% by pledged in 2024. Allen held them accountable for not delivering. Leveraging public and judicial scrutiny. This has not been Allen's first win, you know that. He leverages this. He leveraged lawsuits. Direct TV, he sues Comcast, Direct TV, Charter, and similar other places of advertising. Now, you would ask, how do that benefit small businesses? Stay tuned, and I will tell you. Okay, I took a quick break and I am back. So, like I said, I was going to explain to us how Byron Allen and his lawsuits contribute to Black and Brown communities of business when they are dealing with the same issue he's dealing with. But of course, they don't have the resources or the finances to pretty much do what he does. And what he does is that he leverages lawsuits to be able to try to get these companies to do more of what they are not doing. So let's jump into it. There are two ways specifically that he's able to do this. It's through ad agency spending commitments and also through corporate pledges that are influenced by his pressure. So let's go over it, right? Let's go over it a little bit. Let's start with ad agency, because most businesses, you have to have some type of advertisement. And although you may not, and the reason why this information is important, because you may not come up against a giant like McDonald's, but you may come up against another firm that is local to you, or you may come up against another firm that is a mid-sized firm. So that way you will kind of like have some facts and some information that you can look off into, right? Because a lot of times we don't understand how to deal with this system. Now, through his actual pursuits of pursuing these companies and holding them accountable through what you call the leverage of suing them, IPG Media Brands, one of the world's largest advertising holding companies, responded to Allen's call in May 2021 by pledging at least 5% of its media budgets to Black-owned media in 2023. Also, Allen stated that this marked a historic moment for corporate America and for Black America. This move was part of a wider trend encouraging clients towards a 2% baseline, while Desnatu, or DENTSU, created a unit to connect ad buyers with minority-owned business media companies, showing a ripple effect from Allen's legal and public pressures. Corporate pledges influenced by his pressure. After Allen applied pressure, General Motors committed to spending 8% of its ad budget on Black-owned media in 2025. Similarly, McDonald's pledged to raise diverse media spending, including Black media, from roughly 4% to 10% by 2024, and Black-owned media specifically moving from 2% to 5%. So if you can see, it's moving it on a scale. So he's in media, right? So that's just his area. So I'm pretty sure if he was in the food area, he will be moving things in the food area. So this is for, because a lot of Black businesses, they're definitely into communications and media. And so this is something you kind of learn from how he leverages lawsuits, how he takes data, he researches data. And when these people are not doing something well with his company, he will go research data. And what he does is he leverages that information. Of course, he has the money, but he leverages that information to come after them and to deal with them and to hold them accountable. When he does this, it expands, maybe not for all, but for some, to be able to get more leeway and to be able to get more access. You understand what I'm saying? And to make these companies start making sure that they're doing their ads and they're doing their budgets toward Blacks also in media. So that would be pretty cool, that no matter what profession people are in, you're the leader when you're at the top of the food chain. And so when you're doing these things, you're leveraging access for other people. Now, with that being said, this is what I would have to say. Let me finish this also. Lawsuits by Allen with the National Association of African American Owned Media against Comcast, AT&T, DirecTV, and Charter led to the amended distribution of agreements. As a result, ES Networks, Comedy TV, Recipe TV, Justice Central secured carriage on major platforms, boosting exposure and ad opportunities. And Comcast's case, which reached the Supreme Court, upheld a precedent allowing similar discrimination suits to proceed, lowering legal barriers for other minority-owned outlets. So you see how that works? You see how that works? So people in positions of power, and Allen is definitely in a position of power. He's basically a Mongol. So he has media entertainment pursuits in New York, in Chicago, in Atlanta, and of course where he started in Los Angeles. So this is a $1 billion guy. So when he steps in and use his funding, because it costs money to sue, you're suing bigger giants. You understand what I'm saying? And these cases are drawn out and they're not easy, but it causes overall effect for others to be able to do the same pursuit. Maybe not all companies, like I said, because some companies are more established. They may not be big like him, but they're a little bit more established, so they have a little bit more leeway. But also, even if you don't have as much as leeway, you do understand that maybe you're dealing with someone local, and you can use these same principles to understand how to help, how to leverage, and how to do things, right? So let me give an example too that has nothing to do with lawsuit. there was this lady that I interviewed, and it's up there on my platform. And actually, she does design for Michelle Obama, and she done a lot of the White House designs and stuff like that. And she was telling me how, because she's out of Boston, right? And she was telling me how, oh, yeah, Maryland. And she was telling me how, when she first began her company, her production company, she couldn't get her city to help her for nothing. Like, she just could not get them to help her for nothing. Every door was closed, every situation was closed, and she just couldn't get the good accounts like she wanted. But she started reaching outside of just her local areas and reaching to other areas. She built up her portfolio. And then after a while, of course, there come the White House, and she was able to do things for the White House. She's done things for Israel. She's traveled, and she's done all of that. And so now she has some of the biggest, toppest clients that are out there, right? And as we were doing the interview, I was talking to her, and that's what she was telling me. Okay. And I was asking her, I said, well, did you ever feel a need to move? She said, plenty of times. She said, I wanted to get out plenty of times. She said, the only thing that kept her there was her family. Now, shift fast forward to 2025, and the things she's done since 2023, 2024, 2025, she has changed the dynamics in Boston. Do you understand what I'm saying? And now there are people who coming in up in the behind her, and because of what she has done, they're able to get their businesses out there and to get more production for their companies now. So you guys kind of see how that stuff works. Somebody paves the way, and everybody's on different levels. You understand what I'm saying? And so when you're at those top levels like that, you're able to influence such change with your money, with your resources, and with holding other companies accountable, so that these companies who come up in behind you would be able to use the tools that you use, which is knowledge, information, understanding, data, how to follow in your footsteps, so that they too can hold people accountable when it comes to their business. So I hope that that helped you guys. And I hope that all of this series this week that I talked about men, I hope it's somewhere inside of there, no matter which segment that I was speaking on, somewhere that you were inspired. You understand what I'm saying? We have a lot of bad apples in our world, but there are some very good people. And if you're watching me, I know you're one of those people. Unless you're just one of those people that like to go watch people and see what they're doing, and you try to debunk them and keep them down. But if you're one of those people and you're watching me, your heart is a good heart. Do you understand that? Nobody stays that long and they just don't have a good heart. And so there are good people out there, and you can learn from other people. You can be inspired by other people, whether male or female. And again, do what you need to do for you, as for your mental health. This is men's mental health this month. Also, do what you need to do for you if you're doing a business, and protecting yourself and looking out for yourself. And leadership is very important. And what's going on with this country right now, everybody wants to blame everything on Trump. I do not blame everything on Trump. This country has been in trouble for a very, very long time. You understand what I'm saying? It's been going downhill for many, many years. Has nothing to do with Trump. Sorry, everybody just wants to put the blame on Trump, but it has nothing to do with Trump. And I'm not a political person when it comes to that voting here, voting here. I'm not that bipartisan a person. When I talk on this show, it's because I'm gonna be hitting on some facts. You understand that? And some things that can help us through these systemic social and spiritual issues. I don't like to do all the race baiting and the bipartisan. Now, if something is a race issue, I would talk about it and deal with it. But a lot of things are not race issues like we think, and bipartisan issues like we think. Those are the distractions. A lot of things are just things that we need to change, that has been going downhill in this country for a very long time. And we do that by sharing with one another. What I do and how I do it in the way that I do it, somebody else is doing it. They just don't do it the way I do it. And then you have copycats, people who like to look at your stuff, start doing what you're doing because they see you doing it, but they were never thinking about it at first. Whereas you actually have a passion to do what you do. You love to educate, you love to teach, you love to take real issues in our lifetime and to really just speak about them. So again, I hope that something inside of here inspired you. You be blessed for the rest of June and for the rest of your life. I'm IBK with TCLN Network. I love to educate, to elevate, take us from situations to solutions. You guys have a great one. Never stop, I'll get it if I want it. Gotta make to myself a promise. I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top. Yo, no, I ain't the
type to give up. If I do something, man, I do it till I get what I want. I turn a business out of nothing into something. Now we ain't out here moving rocks, we out here moving boulders. Now we ain't getting posterized, we out here making posters, and we ain't got nothing to hide. We move forward like soldiers. Never stop, don't get it if I want it. Gotta make to myself a promise. I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top, yeah. You know I'm always
Hi there, I'm Abby K. Welcome to the Creative Leadership Network, known as TCLN, where education is the specialty and solutions are the art. I brought this broadcast together so that we can rise above social, systemic, and spiritual issues that we face every day in our nation. The goal is to help us to do better, get better, and become better. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, make sure that your phone notifications are turned on so that you will not forget to be inspired and to stay informed.